Welcome to the CFL Weekly Pickup Show. We're at Week 14, brought to you by Replenishing Care and Technologies, the future of sports medicine. To find out more about them, go to thegrizzlytruth.net and click on the banner at the top of the page. I'm one of your co-hosts for the show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my other co-host. First up, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good.
All right, and of course, as always, our resident four-time Grey Cup champion, Robert Drummond. How you doing, Robert?
Doing great. Weather up here is fine. I mean, no complaints.
Yeah, well, Schmidt's got a hurricane coming, and I got like 6 inches of rain from the previous hurricane, but we're all surviving. All right, let's go ahead and let's look back at Week 13 in the CFL. The BC Lions snapped a 2-game losing skid, but may have paid a heavy price in the process, losing their starting center and quarterback to injury as they defeated the Ottawa Red Blacks 26-14. Jonathan Jennings did come in relief, 10 for 12 with a touchdown. Ricky Collins recorded his first 100-yard receiving game, setting a new career high with 10 catches. Two things. Number one, the BC Lions needed to win this game to stay in contention, but can they stay in contention with Jonathan Jennings as the quarterback, Brian?
Well, that's going to be the million-dollar question because he hasn't shown to be that guy yet. I mean, we see flashes from him at times, but for the most part, what we generally see is a guy that takes chances, turns the ball over. So, gonna be an interesting next few weeks to see how this transitions for them. Very easily they can go from a team in contention to now dropping out of the pack a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
All right, and the Ottawa Red Blacks are now 6-5, Robert, and they are not trending in the right direction.
I mean, I think me and you called this game last week where I thought BC would win this game just because Ottawa is such an enigma. It's just week in and week out, you have no idea, what Ottawa team's going to show up. On paper, there should have been an easy victory for Ottawa, but in reality, they just always, in football we always say find a way to win. They find a way to lose.
Yeah, they most definitely find a way to lose, but they're in the East, so they're still tied for first place. But now they're tied with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Jeremiah Masoli threw for 300 yards in his 9 out of 11 games as Hamilton sailed past the Argonauts 36-25 to kick off last week's triple header. When you look at this game, I mean, I think we definitely have to start taking the Tiger Cats more seriously, Robert. I mean, you had Alex Green look good running the ball. Between him, Masoli, and Mike Jones, you had over 100 yards rushing, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns from Masoli. This team, unlike Ottawa, even though they're tied for first, seems to be trending in the right direction.
You know what they are, and they're playing defense. I like Masoli a lot. He's an architect out there. He does things not to lose the game, and that's all you want a quarterback to do. You want to be efficient, take care of the football, and not do things that lose the game. And when you match that up with good defense and good special team play, you're going to win a lot of games. And Ottawa right now is trending the right way, and they're playing good football at the right time.
Yeah, and Toronto, Brian, they're not. I mean, they're a team that right now is below Montreal in the standings, lost to Montreal a couple weeks ago. They're now 3-8, and James Wilder actually had a decent game, 11 carries, 76 yards, but it doesn't look like Toronto is going to be defending their championship in the playoffs this year.
No, it certainly doesn't. They're definitely trending in the bad direction. They just look like a team that's just they're so out of sync, and I'm not sure that anybody really can figure out what do we do to get back in sync. It just seems like they're almost lost out there, and that's that's always a bad ingredient when you're playing lost, and I feel like they're a team that's definitely playing lost right now.
All right, next up, the Saskatchewan Roughriders continue to ride high with their 4th straight victory as they claim the Banjo Bowl trophy in a 32-27 win against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on Saturday. And defense was the key here. The Rough Riders had an incredible 5 interceptions, including a pair of pick six that were taken back longer than 95 yards. When you look at this team, Brian, Saskatchewan's playing as good as anybody right now. Zach Collaros was not great, but with their defense right now and a quarterback like Zach Collaros, and then you throw on top of it Trey Mason, 20 carries for 117 yards. This is a team that's going to be there at the end of the year, I think, barring injuries.
Yeah, they really are. They do everything well right now. Defense, offensively, they do the right things. Special teams. This is a really really good, solid team that has really kind of found a groove. Now the big thing is it's great when you're playing this well in September. Where are they going to be? Here in another month when it matters, and that's the key. But this was a great win on the road. Certainly, we felt like they had a chance to win this game. Very much so. But anytime you can go to Winnipeg and win, it's a big win.
Yeah, and Winnipeg to me is a lot like Ottawa, Robert, where they're a team that is trending in the wrong direction. They've now dropped to 5-7. They're fourth in the Western Conference. They're 2 games behind the third place team. Winnipeg's got some issues right now.
Yeah, Winnipeg's got to right the ship and find themselves right now. It's hard at this point in the season to try and find your identity. And right now, Winnipeg's trying to find their identity. And when you're trying to find an identity in the Western Conference, that's tough. Because you have Calgary, you have Saskatchewan now. Saskatchewan has made a name for themselves. Edmonton, and it's going to be tough for Winnipeg from here on out. They're going to have a real tough time getting back to, where they need to be.
Yeah, and I would think a lot of the problems here, Robert, is Andrew Harris, 10 receptions for 21, or 10 carries for 21 yards. And I think it shows us that if Andrew Harris is not running the ball successfully, Matt Nichols is going to have problems.
I mean, they're dominant player. He makes things happen, and I've said that before, time after time. Running backs in the CFL set the tone for what the rest of the offense can do. And when your running backs only getting 7, 8, 9, 10, the single digit to very few 15 up to 15 carries a game, that doesn't you don't get into a rhythm on offense. And but Flutie, when I played, used to tell me that all the time. We're going to run you until something pops or something happens because it makes the defense stay honest. And when a running back's not being productive and he's not making the defense stay honest, they can do a lot more things. So Andrew Harris is a spark plug that makes that team go. And when he can't do anything, it shuts them down.
Yeah, and when we go to the Edmonton-Calgary game, Robert, you nailed this one. Edmonton Eskimo quarterback Mike Riley put on an offensive clinic Saturday night as the Stampeders got beat 48-42 by Riley's Eskimos. Riley threw for almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 interception. The Stamps almost pulled a miraculous comeback. Bo Levi Mitchell played well. When we look at this, though, and the way this league is trending now, it used to be Calgary and then everybody else. It's not that way anymore, Robert.
No, it's Saskatchewan and everybody else now. But I said before, it's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year, much less back-to-back. And I knew that going into this game. The rivalry, having played for BC, just the rivalry between the teams in the West, between BC and Edmonton and Calgary, or Calgary, and BC and Edmonton, or Edmonton and BC or Calgary. It's just the bad blood between these, cities and organizations to be able to go out there and they play hard every single game. And you give everything you have. To beat a team twice in a row, I just didn't think it was going to happen. And with a team that's playing solid defense with a quarterback like Mike Riley, I just had a feeling that that they can. This can be their statement game, and this can propel them going into the playoffs. But they have to play at that same intensity and that same high level that they did against Calgary. So they have to treat every game from here on out like they did this past victory.
Yeah, and Brian, when we look at Calgary, Bo Levi Mitchell, 25 for 46, 491 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The 3 interceptions is what stands out there. But the other thing that stands out is we've talked about how mentally Calgary usually has an advantage over people. But the way this last month's went, are they losing that advantage?
They very well could be. But we tend to sometimes we say that about New England Patriots, and then we end up coming back and saying, oh, not so much. But look, Calgary, I think, is building themselves to and we'll see where they are here in 4 or 5 weeks from now. But this is a team that until we start seeing somebody step up consistently to be that team to challenge Calgary, all season long, to me, Calgary's still the front runner.
Yeah, they have to be the front runner. They're 2 games up in the division still. They're still safe as of right now. But when you look at the Week 14 games, I'm going to start off with this one, even though I know it's the second game of the weekend. But Calgary at Hamilton. I mean, this is a huge game. I mean, if you look at Hamilton gets a win here. It's more than a statement, I think, Robert. And with Calgary, I think they really need to show everybody that they're still the best team here.
I mean, as much as with Hamilton's energy, the way Hamilton has been playing, I think they're now just taking over the East and being able to, just to put themselves in a position to be successful. I just think that Calgary doesn't lose 2 games in a row. They find out what's going wrong, and even being away, they find a way to get it done, and they find a way to get back on the winning track to become the Calgary team that we know.
All right, Brian, you agree with Robert, or do you think Hamilton can pull the upset here?
I tell you, I really do want to go with Hamilton, but I think Calgary's not going to lose 2 in a row, so I'm going to agree with Robert on this one. Go Calgary.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point, though. This is why this is a huge statement game for both of them, because it's one thing to be 10-2 and lose a game every once in a while. It's another thing if all of a sudden they lose a couple games in a row. But I agree with you guys.
Yeah.
I would love to take Hamilton. I just can't do it until I see Calgary lose 2 in a row. I'm just going to assume that Mike Riley is as Stephen A. Smith would say about Aaron Rodgers, he's a bad man, and that's why they lost. Next up, we got BC Lions at Montreal. This is a game now that I think, Brian, is a lot more difficult to pick. Montreal's playing better, but then you throw on top of that the injury to Travis Lulay. This could be an interesting game all of a sudden.
Yeah, it really can. And Montreal, definitely at times they've done some things that have surprised us. Certainly not a great team, but this is, my thing with Jonathan Jennings is I don't trust him, and I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Montreal.
All right, Robert?
It's an interesting game. I mean, you have no idea what you're going to get with Jennings, and that's his problem. He's so inconsistent. It's crazy. You think after all these years in the CFL, you at least have more consistency, and be more, be more prone to not make mistakes and not take chances. But he hasn't learned. But in Montreal, you just got you don't know what team's going to show up. The team that earlier that was just absolutely horrid, or the team that's been playing well of lately. But I mean, I'm going to go with BC for the simple fact that I just think Jennings just finds somehow some way to get it done. Just relax and doesn't beat him. As long as he goes out there and he doesn't beat him, BC should win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Robert, but it wouldn't surprise me if Brian's the one that's right on this game. But I don't think Jennings is a bad quarterback. He's streaky, tends to make bad mistakes at times he shouldn't.
Yeah,
but I think overall with BC, there's enough talent there that a mistake or two they can overcome against a team like Montreal. So I'm going to go with BC. Next game, we've got the Ottawa Red Blacks at the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 2 teams going in completely opposite directions. I'll start this one off. I think Saskatchewan wins this game by double digits, Robert.
Saskatchewan winning this one big. It's not even a choice. Ottawa has no idea what their identity is right now, and they're reeling. And this is the worst time of the year for them to possibly get Saskatchewan on their schedule to play.
Yeah,
it is. Because Saskatchewan's red hot right now, and they're just rolling on all cylinders. And Ottawa's trying to find themselves. This is not the team they want to run into. Like you said, I believe Saskatchewan wins by double digits.
All right, Brian.
I'm going to agree. Saskatchewan is a buzzsaw right now, and this is not the team if you're Ottawa, this is not the team you want to play right now. They're playing great football, and Ottawa is not. And this is usually the kind of game where a team that's playing great football continues to play great football and put pressure on a team that's not. And I think we're going to see that.
All right, and my final question is this. And I know you're a big Trevor Harris fan, Brian, but what's going on here? I mean, he seems to be underutilized this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Injuries, offensive line, different things like that. But, I mean, he doesn't look like the same quarterback. We're not seeing the confidence in the throws that we've seen in the past. So I don't know if there's an injury there that maybe he's playing through or something, but he just doesn't look like the same quarterback.
All right, and a stat that I found is like mind-blowing to me, Robert. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have scored nearly half of their touchdowns on defense this season. Now, my question is this, because I've seen teams before like this that live and die by the turnover, get a lot of turnovers during the regular season, but it only takes one playoff game where you're not getting the turnovers, and then all of a sudden your season's over. Would that concern you with them?
It wouldn't. I mean, them getting the turnovers, on defense just lets me know that they have a solid defense. The turnovers is just, just the frosting on the cake. They have a solid defense that's making plays. They're in the right position at the time, to make stops. They're just fortunate enough right now to be getting interceptions and fumble recoveries, and sacks, to make those stops. So see, what we're seeing is the excitement of the game of football, with the big play. But they're a solid defense because they're in the right position to make that play all the time. It could be a batted down ball. It's really not a stat. It could be, a tackle for a loss, which is really not a stat. So we're just seeing the big plays. So I'm confident enough right now in Saskatchewan with the way they're playing our defense that they're solid.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just didn't want to end the show at 15 minutes. I had to come up with a question. But, all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We will be back next week on Wednesday night, if that's good with you guys.
Yep, fine with me.
All right, so next Wednesday night at 9:30, the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show will be back. I want to thank Robert and Brian. I want to remind everybody that if you want to hear our preview show for Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez 2, that will be tonight at 10:15 Eastern Time on thegruelingtruth.net. And if you're listening to a recording of this and it's not Saturday night yet, you can go to thegruelingtruth.net and find that show. Tomorrow, on Thursday, Survive in Advance, we will have former Cincinnati Bengal linebacker Joe Kelly. He'll be on to preview the Bengals game tomorrow night against the Ravens. So, remember, you can hear all of our shows on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So, for Robert Drummond, Brian Schmidt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.